Director Romer, I just wanted to do a sound test. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Marcia, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you.
And the time is 5:30,
Turn my little microphone up.
and you can unmute your microphones.
Feel sorry for the guys.
Huh?
In Scottsdale? Were you in Scottsdale?
Yeah.
We're ready to begin.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order, the Moraga-Orinda Fire District Board of Directors, regular board meeting, March 18th, 2026. We have a 5:30 p.m. closed session and a 7 p.m. open session. So I'll call the meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Director Hassler,
Here.
Director Romer,
Here.
and Director Romer is participating by Zoom. Second Vice President Jex is absent. Vice President Danziger
Here.
and President Jorgens.
Here. Okay, and then we could do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
America.
To the republic for which it stands,
One nation,
under God,
indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'll invite comments and questions from the public relative to the closed session items.
And we do not have any attendees via Zoom or in person, and I've not received any written public comment.
Okay, so I'll close public comment. And we will then adjourn to the closed session. And again, the open session begins at 7 p.m.
And the time is 5:31.
Director Romer back? Okay, so I'll call the meeting back to order. This is the Board of Directors we've adjourned our closed session. We're calling this public meeting back to order. We can have a roll call.
Yep, and the time is 7:03. Director Hassler,
Here.
Director Romer. And so we will come back to Director Romer. Second Vice President Jex is absent. Vice President Danziger,
Here.
President Jorgens.
Here.
And we'll come back when Director Romer comes back on camera. We'll come back and note the time that he's here.
Okay.
Report of closed session action.
Nothing to report from the closed session.
Brief information only reports related to meetings attended by a director at district expense. Hearing none. Questions and informational comments from board members and staff? Hearing none. The time is 7:04. Director Romer, we took roll call.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I stepped out. I'm here now. My apologies.
Thank you. Communications received. We have not received any communications. And now we will go to the fire chief updates and we'll begin with the finance report.
Good evening, directors. We have a brief finance report this morning, tonight. We'll start with the strike team reimbursement update. The estimated strike team receivable for fiscal year 2026 is $809,822. Our payments received are $809,714. So we have a net receivable outstanding of $108, and that is a travel expense reimbursement. Other than that, all invoices to date have been paid. Next
Wow,
slide.
nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Treasury bill update. The district now has $32,855,000 invested in treasury bills. The maturities are listed below, and staff will continue to project cash flows to determine the amount of reinvestment available when treasury bills mature. Next slide. Other items. The interim audit for fiscal year 26 will take place the week of April 20th. And we have completed the transfers to the OPEB trust of $405,000 and the pension trust of $1.7 million. Those were done on March 5th. That concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Nice to
Thank you.
see you again.
Thank you.
Human resources.
Second. Good evening, directors. This is the HR update. Regarding the single role program recruitments for senior single role paramedic, 2 individuals have started on March 2nd. For single role paramedic, we will be hosting EMS skills testing and oral board interviews next Tuesday, March 24th. We have invited 15 candidates. For single
Sorry,
role,
Christine, 15 for the single row, which one?
for the single role paramedics, we invited 15
15,
candidates for next Tuesday. For single role EMT, 1 individual started on March 2nd, and we will be hosting EMS skills testing and oral board interviews on April 2nd.
And how many?
That has not been determined. The recruitment just closed today at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
For fuels mitigation specialist, a recruitment was released on February 20th and closed this past Friday. We will be hosting oral board interviews on Tuesday, March 31st.
How many?
We are still
Oh,
determining that as well.
okay. Can you just tell us how many vacancies you have?
We have 4 for fuels mitigation specialists. Yeah, and we had 25 applicants.
4. So
Mhm.
we lost since the last meeting.
Yes, yeah. Mhm. Okay, and then, and then the application period for the promotional opportunity of fire engineer paramedic 2 continues to be open through April 13th, and our testing date will take place on April 20th and 21st. Regarding new employees, on March 2nd, we hired 2 senior single role paramedics and 1 EMT. So the senior single role paramedics are Hannah Carlson and Matthew Bowdish, and the EMT is Raul Sandoval, who was formerly a fuels mitigation specialist. And we had one single role paramedic resign effective March 10th. And finally, our new finance manager, Jackie Fan, started on March 3rd, and Jackie is here with us tonight, so.
Come on up, come on up.
Under the screen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Fan. I'm the new finance manager at the Moraga-Orinda Fire Protection District. My duty is including financial operations, mainly looking for like budget, payroll, accounting operation, like AP, account payable, and revenue. I'm looking forward to serving, working with everyone and serving the board. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome,
welcome.
welcome.
And unless there are any other questions, this concludes my HR update. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Good evening, directors. I'll be presenting the fire prevention report for February 2026. Fire prevention continued its routine activities throughout the district. 34 property transfer inspections and 22 exterior hazard abatement inspections were completed. Next slide. We are currently operating with only 1 out of 5 fuels mitigation specialists, so efforts have been focused on follow-up of existing cases. Interviews to fill the vacant positions are scheduled for the end of the month. Staff conducted 4 days of chipping in February. However, a minimum of 3 staff are required to operate the program, so a decline in activity is expected in March. Plan review activity shows a slight decline, decreasing from 49 reviews last month to 36 in February. 11 new construction inspections were completed. For state mandated inspections, all St. Mary's dormitory inspections have been completed. 2 are compliant, 9 are non-compliant, and the remainder have yet to be re-inspected. End of report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, I have some questions and some comments. So two good comments. I know that several meetings ago, we talked about the situation at Rite Aid in the back by the post office.
Mhm.
It had all kinds of dead leaves and rotten wood, and it was horrible. It looks perfect now. So obviously somebody had a good inspection, and you actually made a big difference. So thank you.
Great.
I also happened to be at an open house that was, a house that was for sale, and they said, "Oh yeah, we passed the the inspection, so that a property transfer inspection," and they had mulch right up. I'm not saying that didn't happen after you. I assume it happened after you inspected it, but what do we do? Because you hear it all the time that people, they rake it back, it gets inspected, they take the pictures, and then they put it right back where it isn't supposed to be. So how do we keep, when the house actually transfers, do we go look at it and make sure that people didn't do it? Or do we at least send them a notice that says, by the way, if you do this, we're not going to give you a notice. We're just going to fine you. It's something so that they know they have to keep, the situation as good as it was when they bought the house.
When they receive the certificate of compliance, it says on there that the property is to be maintained year-round. Currently, we don't have anything in place for in this specific scenario that you suggested. Individuals can always file a complaint if they see something out of compliance. But currently, once we inspect it and inspect it and it's compliant, they receive the certificate.
I guess I'm just wondering if we should have an additional process that once the house actually transfers, because you inspect them when they go for sale,
Correct.
not literally when they transfer.
Correct.
Maybe you send the new people a notice that says, in addition to having the wonderful programs for gutter guards and free screens and things, which the seller wasn't required to do, but send them a notice that says, by the way, you still can't have the mulch next to your house, and we're still going to potentially come and inspect. But a welcome package that includes the notice. Just a thought. We've talked about this before you were here, I think.
Okay.
So something to think about.
Yes, sir. We can make a process where we follow back up with the inspection, because we had that welcome letter that we were sending out
folks that moved into the district, that welcome to the district. And as a reminder, so we can put that in there, but staff can also, the inspector, swing back by after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, to make sure it's still compliant, because that is not the first time we've heard that or encountered that scenario.
Yeah, I think the city of Orinda, and I think we have a sheet that has the little scan codes on it for all the various programs, the grant programs for cutting down trees, and Orinda's got a lot of those things. So it'd be a good time just to make them more aware as a new resident to the city.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say, yesterday I had the pleasure of being in a walk around our new Firewise neighborhood that we're developing, the Greater Ivy, and Fire Marshal was there and made a good presentation, and we pointed out every house we looked at had some issues, but we did a good walk around with about 10 of us, and we have over 100 homes signed up so far, and
That's great.
it's still growing.
Oh.
So we're looking forward to becoming a Firewise neighborhood.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
St. Mary's College update.
Directors, I'll start this and then let Casey jump in. So after last month's meeting, I had set up a time to go meet with the CFO at St. Mary's College and really stress how significant the nuisance alarms and some of the unsafe conditions we were encountering through the dorm inspections, and that it was a continual, problem for the last 6 years. I got the same story that I had gotten in previous years, so I wasn't thrilled with the response. Director Jorgens and I met with the mayor and the town manager to also share with them the concerns we had with St. Mary's. And I am happy to say that Casey will report on some significant progress we have to their fire and life safety systems.
So following the 25 nuisance alarms in October 2025, a letter of correction was issued to St. Mary's requiring corrective action to address the ongoing alarm activity. On Monday this week, they submitted fire alarm drawings proposing reprogramming of the sleeping room smoke detectors in accordance with the California Fire Code, demonstrating that they are moving forward with a solution. This approach shifts responsibility to the university and removes alarms from the direct activation of the 911 system, while maintaining appropriate safeguards to ensure response in the event of an actual fire. Additionally, 6 nuisance alarms occurred in February. While this is a reduction from the 11 alarms in January, no specific corrective actions have been reported, and the specific causes have not yet been determined. Staff continue to coordinate with the facility to identify contributing factors and implement corrective actions. That concludes my report.
So are you saying that they're going to have a system where when those alarms go off in the dorm, it goes to them and not to our 911 system, and they respond and they call us if they need us? Is that kind of?
That's correct. There's some systems in place that require some safeguards, like the buildings have to be fully sprinklered.
Okay.
If there's an actual fire alarm, all buildings shall have a manual pull station, and students will be retrained on the specific protocol of the fire alarm system. So they have the ability to call 911 themselves, pull the pull station, or the sprinkler activation will suppress the fire.
And when is that going to be implemented? Do we have a?
They wanted to start today.
Oh,
I paused it only because the training element wasn't in place yet.
okay.
So I didn't want to go through the weekend without occupants knowing that the system had changed. I want them to be fully aware how the fire alarm system operates when they occupy the building.
That's great news.
That's great news.
Yeah.
So hopefully next week.
Good
Okay.
progress. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe you can I think we'd all be interested to know. So it may be an email just to, kind of let us know how that went.
Yes, sir.
Great.
We'll do that.
Sure. Thank you.
We have the operations report.
Hi, good evening, directors. This time I'd like to have our members of our staff join me with single roll and make some brief introductions and invite them up to the podium. Tonight, as they're approaching the podium, I'm joined by members of our team that have joined us at various stages throughout the past months. Joined first by, let's see, Mr. Sam Riddle, who comes to us by way of Contra Costa County's private ambulance, which formerly was an EMT and then later as a paramedic. Mr. Angel Wright, who is an EMT currently with us. Previous experience in San Diego and in San Jose. Hannah Carlson comes to us by way of Contra Costa County EMS, as well as a senior single role paramedic and prior military service as a Navy corpsman. And Mr. Matt Bowdish comes to us by way of city and county of San Francisco with prior law enforcement experience as well. So as I mentioned, the team members that have joined me here are at various stages. Hannah and Matt are beginning actually their first day joining our ranks and are currently working through the EMS evaluation, paramedic evaluation process, where they've since completed the 2-week onboarding. So we welcome them to our team as they are getting comfortable and situated within our ranks and our stations, and wanted to take this opportunity to introduce them to you. And with that, if there's any other questions, I'll excuse them as we move into the operations report.
Welcome, all of you.
Welcome. You're going to be tested on our street names, pretty soon. So,
Excellent.
Thanks so much.
hey, nice show.
So for tonight's operations report, having just discussed EMS, I'd like to review 2 significant calls that have occurred over the last couple months. Next slide. Beginning with the first. So I'll explain this review here. This is this incident was an EMS call for chest pain, which ended up being an aortic, a AAA, aortic abdominal aneurysm. This particular one was one that involved the patient of both ascending and descending, which is the life expectancy after this significant cardiac event is very low because these are the biggest arteries that feed the blood supply and oxygen to our heart. So this, a couple pieces of this. So the patient presented as pale, cool, diaphoretic with significant clinical concerns about a low heart rate, unequal blood pressures between her arms and loss of sensation and movements in one leg, also cool to the touch on one side versus the other. Some of these are classic symptoms for a AAA. We don't see this very often, fortunately. However, like I said, the survivability of this event is very low. The findings are indicative of a severe cardiac emergency, where our crews quickly did a head-to-toe patient assessment. The cardiac monitors that, like the one that you saw last month, helped provide us with other indicators that this type of event is likely possible. Through the quick decision making, recognize, hey, this meets that criteria. Chose the appropriate receiving facility and transported code 3 with lights and sirens to that facility, where they received immediate care and transfer. I'd like to recognize firefighter paramedic Kyle Bird, who was the primary patient person, who was a firefighter paramedic and treated this patient. I just spoke with the family this morning, and this person is expected to continue with the rest of their life. So I am very pleased to say that, and so are they, that because of the quick actions by our crews, followed up with definitive care by the hospital, this person is going to walk out of the hospital and is already on the path. So it is said that similar cardiac events, depending on which medical journal you read, is roughly about 10%. So this is something that's significant to us and a direct reflection by the actions that were taken by our crews pre-hospital. Next slide. Yes, sir.
Lucas, are you able to tell us what hospital they went to?
You know what, with that, I cannot.
Okay, okay.
I want to be very specific to protect any patient privacies.
Okay.
However, what I can say is we have a very good working relationship to include the doctors that we communicate regularly with and train with. And that too, like many other relationships, pays dividends so that we have a mutual understanding of what we're bringing and heads up when they do receive a patient.
For a case like that, do they tell you, whoever you're speaking to, where to go? Like if I was a Kaiser patient,
Yeah.
and I say I'm a Kaiser patient, would you automatically take me there, or are they saying in this case take them somewhere else? Or
Yeah, it's a good question. For these types of events that involve cardiac work, there's options.
Yeah.
We are governed by protocols. We receive our authorities from doctors for pre-hospital interventions. However, there's, like medicine, because it's a practice, there's interpretation. So we do have a bit of a choice as to which receiving hospital that we transport to. I stand by after reviewing the charts, and that's how this call came before us tonight, through the CQI process, that the decisions that were made by the crews to transport this patient to the receiving hospital that we delivered her to were the correct actions, based on the severity and the time that this patient requires intervention. And again, those quick actions are what led to this recovery.
Okay.
Good questions, and I appreciate it. I'd also, I'm going to put him on the spot. Firefighter paramedic Matt Cooper, I'd like to invite you up. Just by coincidence, he's joining with me tonight and can also provide some details as to this call. But in quick summary, this is what we would call a STEMI, or ST myocardial infarction. And for layman's terms, this is a heart attack. However, this particular heart attack involved a left anterior descending artery. So the call review is a 60-year-old male, chief complaint of chest pain, shortness of breath, presented with cool, pale, diaphoretic skin, tachypnea, carpal spasms, because the patient is breathing very fast. It causes oftentimes for your hands and feet to lock up because of the oxygen distribution. When this person did go to the hospital, received intervention through the cath lab, it was determined that there was a 95% occlusion of this artery. So in medical terms, and this is in textbooks, I'm not making it up, this is called a widowmaker, this particular call. So I've invited firefighter paramedic Matt Cooper up to join me because he was the primary patient person on this one, and I did tell him that I was able to make contact with this patient. I'd like to read to the board his response that included, Lucas, I wanted to send a quick note and say a huge thank you for being in contact with me. I also wanted to express my deepest gratitude to you and your team on the medical emergency that occurred on January 17th, 2026. Your swift response and professional care saved my life. I recovered very well, and my doctor released me back to work, which that's where he was when I was able to contact him. I feel very lucky to have you and your team by my side. Please pass along my appreciations to your team, in which I responded, I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that you're at work. So without further ado, I'd like to extend the appreciation, gratitude to towards firefighter paramedic Matt Cooper for his quick actions.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have questions, they call it a widowmaker for a reason. It's fatal 95% of the time. We were able to have some follow-up. He went into cardiac arrest twice after we got him there. So for as well as the team that I was with, we worked swiftly, but there's not a lot we can do other than get them to definitive care, which is exactly what we did. And, you know, I think it makes for a really good feel-good story. It's not often that we get to do something as meaningful as something like this. The AAA. They happen. They don't happen often. And it was a pretty cool opportunity to enact exactly what we trained for. It's something that we don't really think too much about. We just do, and opportunity and preparation met perfectly. So if you guys have any questions, happy to answer.
Oh, thank you.
Did our new equipment
Thank you
help
very
at all?
much.
Did the new?
Yeah.
Question. No. Thank you.
Directors, this concludes, pending any questions, this concludes my operations report. However, Marcia will mention also, we do have open house coming up in May, which we want to, it's on the calendar and want to make sure that everybody's aware and look forward to the attendance. Thank you very much.
11 to 1, May 2nd. Okay, I'm sorry.
So these are upcoming calendar events, and as Chief Lambert mentioned, our open house is on May 2nd.
Awesome.
So now we can open public comment for announcements. And we do not have any hands raised, and we do not have in-person public comment. We now have public comment for items that are not on the agenda. We did receive one written public comment. It was after our February board meeting from Jonathan Goodwin regarding the standards of cover, which was forwarded to the directors. It's also available on our website and was included in the board packet. We do not have any hands raised, and we do not have in-person public comment. We can now open public comment for the consent agenda items.
Before we do that, I'd like to pull one item off the consent.
Okay, once public comment closes.
Okay, first, okay.
Mhm. So we do not have any hands raised, and we do not have any in-person public comment. And we're
I-
ready
I
for
do
that
that.
consent.
I just want to pull 8.6.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the other items on the consent agenda other than 8.6?
I'll make a motion to approve 8.1 through 8.5 and 8.7 and 8.8.
I'll second that.
Director Hassler,
Aye.
Director Romer,
Aye.
Vice President Danziger,
Aye.
President Jorgens.
Aye. Okay. Now we can have some
Um,
discussion about
yeah, so-
8.6.
8.6, the quarterly pension and OPEB investment review.
Mhm.
This was the first one that was really done by a new financial services group, BFSG. And so I had some questions. And since there's no one here and they're kind of specific questions, so I just wonder if maybe we can put this on the regular agenda next week, next time, next month, or should I ask my questions now and you just get answers? What should we do?
However you'd like to handle it, sir.
Should I just ask my questions and then?
Sure, we
get-
can.
Okay,
we
I just had a
can
couple,
answer your
a couple of questions because this is a new provider and my expertise in these financial matters is kind of a little bit minimal. So I just had a couple of questions and I have them flagged here. If you just hold on a second. Okay, so I'll just give you a page number and I'll just say what it is, and I don't need any answers now unless So on page 89, so they show the new asset allocation numbers and, you know, where the money is invested. And I just wondered about the change between the third quarter and the fourth quarter, what precipitated that? That's kind of the basic question. And then I wanted to know on they talk in their report about,
I think I know the answer to that one.
you do?
Yeah.
Well,
So
go
this is-
ahead.
The third quarter one was managed by the old guys and they used iShares and the new guys used the Vanguard things. And so it switched from one to the other.
Did the old, the former people do the whole third quarter or? I wasn't sure.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's roughly the list of things that we used to own because they used iShares to do the same
You
kinds of
think that's
things
the
that the
difference?
Vanguard
Okay,
Federal.
that could be. Does that seem right, Glorianne? That it seems okay to me. I mean, I know that fourth quarter was their first full quarter, so, okay. Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm good with that, you know. So how about, so for the new provider, they are using a couple of different mutual funds, predominantly the Dodge and Cox. And they're using iShares as well, though. They're using these,
The S&P is the same, right? So I think S&P.
yeah, so that, one of my questions is, when I look at the different indexes they're using, they seem the same. They both have the same strategy. It's almost word for word exactly the same. They both invest in the S&P 500 index.
Yep.
Why use two different ones? Why not use the same,
Because they have
only one?
different loads.
Different costs. So why not just use the lower cost one? Why use both if they're invested in the same exact fund, same exact stocks?
Which page are you looking at?
Well, it's on 113.
Okay.
So I see we have,
Where that's little.
you know, two, it seems to me that there's two investments in the S&P 500. And the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, and then there's the Vanguard Institutional Index. They seem to be investing in exactly the same. But when you look at the list, I mean, why use two? Why not just use one of them? Why not use Vanguard if it's less expense? That's just a general question.
Okay, that'd be a good one for them.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Okay,
But I guess the good news is they're invested in the same things.
yeah. And they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to be clear, rarely are when you say you're investing in the S&P 500 in an index fund, they don't invest in 500 stocks. They invest in like 200 stocks.
Yeah.
Because you can approximate the returns of the S&P 500 without buying all 500 stocks. So they don't necessarily buy exactly the same shares. They just buy close to the same things and they potentially rebalance it over time as they're going because which ones represent the return of the S&P 500 can change, but it's easier and cheaper to own some of them than it is all of them.
Okay. I just don't know why you would invest in more than one, but if they're basically the same. That's all I have. That's it.
Okay. So do we want to approve it then?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
If you can just come back and just answer that question, that's all.
You want to make?
I'll make a motion to approve 8.6 quarterly pension and OPEB investment review.
I'll second it.
Director Hassler,
Aye.
Director Romer,
Aye.
Vice President Danziger,
Aye.
President Jorgens.
Aye.
Item 9.1, public workshop on the long-range financial forecasts.
Good evening, directors. The long-range forecast has been updated. The forecast covers a forward-looking 10-year period. The forecast is separate from the annual operating budget. The long-range forecast is scheduled for adoption at the next board meeting. Preparation of the fiscal year 2027 annual operating budget is in process. All of the budget pieces you see on the slide are complete and reflected in the long-range forecast, except for operating expenditures, which are still in process. The significant assumptions used in the forecast are listed on the slide. Property tax revenue for 2027 has been projected by HDL, the district's property tax revenue consultant. After 2027, the forecast uses an assumption of 3.5% increase per year in scenario A and 2.5% growth in scenario B. For investment earnings, I completed a forecast of earnings based on forecasted cash and investment balances in the forecast. The forecast projected an interest rate decrease of 1% in 2028. Ambulance revenue is projected to increase 1.5% throughout the forecast, consistent with last year's forecast. Net strike team revenue is projected at $233,000 in the general fund and $40,000 in the capital projects fund, then it to increase 3.5% to mirror the salary increases that are projected. Salaries and overtime expenditures are forecast to increase 5% on July 1, 2026, per the terms of the MOUs, then 3.5% thereafter, consistent with the last forecast. Safety salaries include 48 positions, all of which are currently filled. Non-safety salaries include 15 full-time positions for the single role paramedic system. Benefits are forecast to increase 3%. Cesara rates are forecast based on Cesara projections for the first 5 years, as shown on the slide, then based on calculations completed using the GovInvest software. OPEB contributions are included in the full actuarially determined contribution amount. Finally, pension trust contributions are included in accordance with the board adopted pension funding policy. The policy states the contributions will be calculated using a discount rate that is 50 basis points lower than the rate used by Cesara, investment returns based on the most recent actual investment results from Cesara, and salary increases based on actual salary increases in the MOUs. This next slide reviews pension costs in more detail. The Cesara board uses a discount rate of 6.75%. Cesara's actual investment returns for calendar year 2025 were plus 12.6%. These investment returns will affect the district's Cesara rates beginning July 1, 2027. The forecast uses the most recent 5-year projections of the district's pension rates as provided by Cesara's actuary. The projections provided by Cesara do not yet reflect the 12.6% investment earnings for 2025. We should receive updated projections from Cesara prior to the next board meeting, which I will incorporate into the next forecast. I draw your attention to the table on the left-hand side, particularly the numbers highlighted in blue. This section is an important part of understanding the financial challenges the district faces over the next 4 years. The safety classic percentages in the chart are a percentage of pensionable pay. Previously, Cesara rates were stable in the 70% range for 8 years. Then in 2024, the rates increased 10% to 80% of pensionable pay. Then the immediately following year, the rates increased an additional 10% into the 90% range. The rates are projected to continue to increase to 98.65% of pensionable pay over the next 3 years, then start to decrease. The decreases are projected to be significant based on actuarial layers dropping off. The pie graph shows total planned funding in the long-range forecast designated for pension costs in fiscal year 2027. The blue part of the graph reflects mandatory costs to be paid to Cesara. The red part shows the planned contribution to the district's separate pension trust account, which is board directed. The total funding designated for pension costs totals $10.2 million and reflects a discount rate of 6.25%. The district has one outstanding debt issuance with a balance of $1,516,000 at an interest rate of 2.14%. The debt issuance was used to pay for the construction of Station 43. This slide details the capital projects that are included in the forecast. So the forecast includes funding to pay cash for the Station 41 rebuild of $20.8 million, to pay cash for a Station 45 remodel of $6 million, and to pay cash for acquisition and improvements for an administration building in the amount of $3.7 million. The projected timing of the payments for each project are listed on the slide. The forecast projects using existing funds in the Capital Projects Fund to pay for these projects, as well as transfers out of the general fund into the Capital Projects Fund. The largest transfer out of the general fund would be $9.2 million in fiscal year 2028. This next graph illustrates projected unrestricted fund balance in the general fund for the next 10 years based on the forecast. I draw your attention to the 3 years in the red square. In scenario A, 2 of the years in the red square reflect general fund unrestricted fund balance less than 40%, which is the board policy minimum. In scenario B, 3 of the years reflect less than 40%. So in the amount in scenario A, it's 35 to 36%. So that is where it would be in the forecast. The next is the last slide. Board direction is requested regarding assumptions, capital projects, general fund transfers to the Capital Projects Fund, or any other part of the long-range forecast. This concludes the staff report.
Okay.
Questions?
I have one question. The first question would be on the slide where you showed the 3 years that the fund was going to be below the 40%. And that's because we're paying for the Station 41.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, yes, that's one piece of it. I mean,
It's all capital,
Well-
mostly capital.
it's all, I mean, it's
projects.
also the pension costs. I mean, that was the point of the pension slide. The pension costs at 98%
Right.
is one part of it, right? And as well, but then the capital projects is also a significant
For those-
piece as well.
2029, 2030.
And it includes a lot of money going out for the fire engines too, right? We have millions of dollars worth of those in that same forecast. Because we haven't paid cash for them yet. They've been in our budget for a long time, but we haven't actually paid for them yet.
Right. So they are included in the fiscal year 2020, the current year 2026 expenditures, the fire engines that have been ordered.
Right. But that all flows through, year over year. And if they're a year late, I haven't heard recently, by the way, are they on schedule now? Because they kept getting delayed.
We will check on that, sir. I have not heard anything good or bad on it, whether they're delay or on time.
Do we have all of our equipment back in service now? We had things a few months ago and I was gone a month, but did we get everything back in service yet?
Everything's back in service, and now with the additional reserve engine that we had purchased, we're able to get caught up on our scheduled maintenance plan. So we have stuff going out of service just for the routine maintenance that we're required to do. But yes, otherwise everything is back in service and on the road.
Okay.
Just to follow up on Director Danzinger's question, though, if we were to run this projection without the capital improvements, would we be positive? Would we meet the 40% in those 3 years, or still would not?
Oh, no, yes, definitely. Because
Okay,
20.8.
it's the
million.
expenditures.
Yeah, but it was only, it went down.
It's
to
only a
30
small amount.
Went down to 36% instead of
Yeah,
40. So-
Yeah. It's small. And that 36%, though, that was in scenario A, right?
Correct.
In scenario B, it's more, it's
Yeah,
a
let's see.
further drop, correct? That,
Scenario B, it goes 34%
Okay.
to 36%.
So I have a couple of questions. I don't want to go first.
Okay.
You're supposed to go first.
No, okay. I have, I don't know if it's a comment that I know this financial report assumes paying cash for all those projects. And I think at the time, this is just a statement, basically. I think at the time that we are going to enter contracts for these, I think the board, I will ensure that the board discusses, do we really want to pay cash, or should we do what we did with Station 43? Because I'm not clear myself that paying cash is the right thing to do. I'm just making that statement for now. I don't need a change, but when the time comes, whatever board, if we're on the board, if we're not, I really think the board should make that call at that time. Is cash really the way to go, or what are interest rates, and what do we want to do? So that's all. It's just a statement. So.
Do you have any questions? Director Romer, do you have any questions?
Not at the present time, no.
'Cause I have a bunch of, I just didn't.
Go.
So on line, sure it lines up here. Charges for other services. It goes from in 23, 24, it was 243, then it goes to 306, and then it goes to 719. And I think I heard that has a lot of numbers in it that include fines for St. Mary's and things like that.
Correct. The
That's this
charges
year's
for
number.
services, their line is basically fire prevention fees. So plan reviews, administrative citations, as well as the fines that are being charged to St. Mary's.
So do we have a lot, what part of that is fines versus other kinds of things?
I don't have it right in front of me. I think off the top of my head, I'm going to guess about $100,000.
Is fines?
I think, yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
And what's our history been on collecting fines? Don't we often waive them?
Sorry, do we waive fines?
Don't we often waive them?
Yes, sir. We would have to get back to you with the exact percentage of fines that we waive.
Well, so I guess I'm not too worried about the percentages, but it just, it seems unusual to me that we have a number that went up, I don't know, 20% the year before, and then it more than doubles in a year. And, I don't know that we're reviewing that many more plans than we used to. And I hope we're not charging our citizens too much more than we used to, because, that's not, hopefully not the business. We want to enforce our code, right? That's fine. But, that's a lot of money to charge our citizens. And if it's fines that we're charging St. Mary's and things, I think we have historically not done those as long as they've done their work. So I hate to put them in the budget and rely on the cash we're going to get if we really don't think we're going to get the cash.
Okay, so St. Mary's has paid their nuisance alarms. We have been getting those. And then plan review has increased, and I can provide more information. But plan review revenue has increased.
So I think a year ago, we waived at least $40,000 worth of fines for St. Mary's. I don't know what they were exactly for, but in the past, we have waived significant fines when they were willing to do things and make improvements. So I just want to make sure that we're really thinking about not just how many things we issue, but how many things we actually collect when we're doing this. But in general, having a number go up that much and then stay up that high seems unusual to me. So I guess I'd at least like somebody to give a little more detail on that. Another one is down here under retiree health insurance. I think I heard a statement recently that it hadn't changed in 10 years and it wasn't going to. Gee, it changed last year, which seems like a change. And then it changed from the year before that year. So it does change, right?
So the amount that the district pays for retiree health insurance is capped. I mean, it's in the MOUs. And so it's in there that piece doesn't increase.
So why does the number change?
The reason the number would change is if there was additional retirees, like if another person retired, then we would have to pay for that.
Okay, so it does change over time.
Right. Yes, it changes over time.
Okay. And I think the question that I'd asked before was that in the future, we have it going up effectively zero, even though it's gone up recently. So why would we forecast that?
Right.
It's gone up in this case, sorry. It's expected to go up 4 years in a row. And in the future, we assume it's going to go up zero.
Right. So yes, I'm open to board direction if you would like an assumption, projection in there for an additional amount.
I'd like you to tell us why you assumed it was zero.
Because that was consistent with last year.
No, that's not a great reason. So do we really expect it to be zero? I mean, we should know how many people are going to retire, right? Theoretically. So Sarah knows how many people they think are going to retire. They give us, I mean, by definition, their pension is based on that. So we must have somebody's forecast about who's going to retire. Right?
I don't have I have 8 people. I have ages of our employees, so I could make assumptions using the ages of our.
Why do we use Sarah's forecast? They have it by definition. Otherwise, that's how they figure out what our pensions costs are going to be. Right? No?
I'm not Sarah's actuary. I don't know how they do, their actuary does what they do, but yes, I'm sure that includes in anticipating when people are going to retire.
Okay. So why don't we, since we're using their assumptions for our pension costs, wouldn't it make sense to use it for our OPEB costs too then? I'm sorry, our retiree health costs? And they must tell us those numbers. We have access to the numbers. It's our people. Okay. Zero just seems like a strange number. And then I couldn't figure out from the spreadsheets on the transfers of capital, line 32, transfers of capital to the capital fund. There were some hardwired numbers in there that I couldn't figure out what they were. Can you explain what they were?
Okay, yes. So in the projected for fiscal year 2027. So originally it was $2 million in there previously, and then we added additional amounts in there.
You said it was $2 million originally based on?
Prior long-range forecasts. We started with the 2 million because originally the transfers out of the general fund was the prior pension, the money that used to be used to pay for the pension obligation bonds. So once the pension obligation bonds were paid in full, then that's when the board said, okay, let's start transferring that money over to capital to start setting aside more money for capital. So then that evolved as that piece evolved, then it became, okay, take that POB money plus add depreciation in there for the existing assets. So then that added additional amounts for depreciation for our current capital assets to kind of keep setting aside money in the capital projects fund.
Okay. And then how did it keep going out in the future? We just added depreciation and.
Well, right. So then, but then as station 41 has become closer and closer and the cost has increased, the cost has increased as well. So then that's how we ended up with the $9 million, because that in fiscal year 2028, because that's how much money is going to be necessary to pay cash for that station. So then it comes back down to about the 1.4 to 1.6 million, because that there's less capital need.
So we just, there's nothing wrong with this, but the thing we do is we just manage how much we take out so we have some reasonable level of money in the fund. Is that the deal?
So that some reasonable level in the capital projects fund? Yes.
Okay. Because that's kind of okay, but it takes, unless we really think we're going to, the amount that I can imagine justifying in it is the depreciation we've been talking about, which I know at some point you put in there. Part of it at least. But is that all we should put in? Is future anticipated expenditures for capital stuff, whether it's more fire equipment or trucks or, whatever happens to, because we do buy things along the way. And the depreciation, but maybe that's the thing we ought to target, because otherwise it's kind of just a random number, it looks like. In other words, it started with the $2 million, which, maybe had a historical basis, but it doesn't necessarily have a basis now. I get the $9 million. And when we know we need cash, that's obvious. But otherwise, it looks like it's kind of just a fund that doesn't have a basis for having its size other than depreciation money that's been put in there. Do you think we should just leave depreciation in there as the plus whatever actual cash we expect?
So this.
Because it takes away from our general fund.
Yes, exactly. And that's an excellent point. that it takes away from the general fund, which is providing the ongoing operations of the district and service to the community. And then the point of the capital projects fund is to pay for the capital projects that are needed. So that's where the long range forecast, it's looking at the next 10 years. So we're looking at the next 10 years of apparatus.
Yeah.
We're looking at the next 10 years of buildings. We're also looking at the next 10 years of significant capital equipment purchases.
Yeah.
And then saying, okay, how much money do we need in what years? And so that's what this is trying to do. So as that capital projects fund, I mean, in scenario A, it would get down to 1.7 million, but then it would start going back up higher. And there's really in this 10 years, that second half of those 5 years, it does seem like there would be more money in the capital projects fund than potentially is necessary.
So when we talked about the little red box that had the 3 years in it that we didn't, is the capital fund and the general fund both in there?
No, that's just general fund because the board policy is the general fund will have 40%.
Okay, so again, I guess back to the first question. If we just put in the depreciation amounts, in other words, we put in what we need plus, and we left depreciation in there and put in what we actually had to spend that year, but we were still building the depreciation part of it. That seems like a reasonable way to put aside money that we know we're going to spend one of these days. Not in addition to the money we absolutely know we're spending like in the next few years, we're also putting away the long-term money. So we're building a reserve to be able to pay for those things when they show up, because we know they're going to show up out there someplace. And that's why we're depreciating the assets we have. So can we just put those numbers in it? Because it will impact how much we have in our general fund if we don't have some philosophy of what we ought to have in there.
So can we just set aside depreciation just transfer depreciation amount into capital? Is that what you're saying?
So I think you already maybe did it, but I'm not sure what happened in the outer years. So if we started out with enough money, well, we started with a random $2 million. So I'm not sure that's a great rationale for that, but it's a balance. And then we put in enough money so we could fund the actual expenditures we had each year. Fine. But we should have kept a balance in there of the depreciation. So we ought to transfer in whatever is necessary to make us have enough money to actually pay the bills every time we make a payment for a new building or a new fire engine or whatever it happens to be that we have in our 10-year forecast. But we ought to be building that balance of the depreciation so that when we get out 15 more years or 20 more years or whenever the next fire station happens, we have money for it. That was the concept of putting the depreciation in. But we have to be disciplined about what numbers we actually put in there in the outer years, so we're not putting too much money in. Do you think, did we do that, or is it just a random number out there?
No,
is this, what's the number in the 10th year for the balance?
Right. So in the 10th year, capital projects has $9 million in it.
Right. Which sounds aggressive given that most of our buildings are pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
So is that really, so I guess the question is, how did we get to that number? Other than it being the accumulation after we finished buying whatever buildings we needed and things, the accumulation of the depreciation.
Right. It's the accumulation of the depreciation.
So we have $9 million of depreciation in 10 years. The last number I saw wasn't anywhere near $1 million of depreciation.
Well, so the depreciation is going in there as well as about the million, plus $1 million in there. Because
that's the question is, why do we have $1 million in there?
That's the pension obligation that we said we would earmark for that. The pension obligation amount that we used, I think, is what she said is, but we earmarked that for the capital improvement fund, and we haven't taken it out. We haven't said take it out. So there's like 1.6 million going in there, I think, every year.
But the pension obligation bond thing stopped years ago, right?
No,
we paid it all off.
We paid it off, but when we paid it off, the extra cash we had, we said, are we going to leave this cash in the general fund? And we said, no, we have all these buildings coming up.
Right.
So let's put it in the capital fund. And so we've continued, that's what's causing the buildup here.
Right.
Is that money we've reallocated to the building fund is, I think it's like.
And we just kept doing it because
we just kept doing it
we did
because it
two
was
things.
copied.
Yeah, because we're now putting money into the pension trust, which a long time ago we didn't have.
Yes. And we're paying ourselves for the bonds still. right? Like we used to make a payment on the bonds every year. Now we're taking the money from the bonds.
Right.
We're putting.
But it isn't actually 1.6 million you're adding every year, is it?
There's
can't
a
be, 'cause
line I thought on here.
It
line
can't be, because then
49.
there'd be too much money at the end of 10 years. So
Isn't it line 40? Transfer in from general fund prior POB money?
yeah, but that's not really what it is. It's just,
That's not what
it's
it
an
is.
old title.
Okay, sorry.
No, that is what it is. So that was it. That was the prior POB money became a transfer into the capital projects fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
but it stopped.
Well, no, I mean, you can see it's in every year of the forecast. So if the board wants to change that, and then this is the time to give direction.
Well, so I guess maybe that's what I'm just trying to figure out what our policies have been. So in the past, we said, hey, let's put a bunch of money in there to just sort of seed the capital fund so we can pay for a bunch of buildings in the future, a bunch of capital in the future. At the same time, last year, we added in depreciation, which is really to do the same thing. So now we're kind of double, I think, maybe it was board direction, that's fine. But I think we're double counting it now. So we're now putting in a random number, I'll call it, meaning the $1.6 million a year, if that's what it is. And we're putting in the depreciation. So we're kind of we're feeding a fund without a designated reason for it with the 1.6, but we're designating the exact reason with the depreciation. But we have to count all the depreciation if we're going to do that. And for example, we aren't depreciating. We're spending a bunch of capital of $3.7 million isn't getting depreciated. And the 2 new fire stations aren't yet getting depreciated in there, the ones we're going to be spending. So we need to be putting aside, once we finish building them, money goes out, and then we start depreciating those new ones, and setting aside that money. But otherwise, it's a weird number that
There
just
needs to be a
happens.
waterfall. I think there needs to be a waterfall, right? Like here's what we're depreciating and here's the new assets coming on. That
Right.
Feed into the depreciation, because that number would change every year, because once the asset's fully depreciated, we shouldn't be paying
Absolutely.
in for it. There needs
Right.
to be a waterfall. And then we need to figure out what we really want to do with the money that was going to the pension obligation bonds.
Well, yes, I think that's just at the moment, it's just in the general fund, right? Do we really
No,
add
it's
one
not in
point-
the general fund. It's in the capital fund. It's moving from.
Did
the
we
general fund.
you actually have a number in there that says $1.6 million every year?
It's line 40. It starts out at 1.6 and then goes down to, I think, 1.455. Is that right, Gloria? Line
Yes.
40?
Well, but it's $3.8 million in 2025.
Well, I don't know what that number is. Sorry.
Right, no, and
That's
that's
$9
what,
million in, so, no, it's,
Starts at 1.6 and, the 9 million. I don't know what the 9 million is. I'm just saying I thought the explanation was for it.
it's just, it's the transfer in from the general fund is it?
It's the total transfer in.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a random number. I mean, it's
So is
made up
that-
of,
yeah.
it's made up of cash flows that we know we need to be able to pay for the buildings in the year we think we're going to expend the money. And as far as I know, it should be just that plus our depreciation. I don't think there's another extra number added in there. Tell me if there is.
Right.
It's not footnoted, it has that.
so okay, so in line 40, the transfer into the capital projects from the general fund.
Mhm.
So there is more there's more money being transferred than just depreciation in those, especially in those out years, in the, after Station 41 gets built.
What else is there?
Oh, I see.
How much more than the depreciation?
Uh-huh.
Let's see.
How do we figure out what number to put in there, I guess, if it's more than depreciation?
Is it whatever's left over? That would seem wrong. Because you're right, line 32 and line 40 are the exact same number.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a $1.1 million plus the depreciation amount.
So every year there's 1.1 million plus depreciation?
Yes.
So we just made up the number. That's the point. Well, in other words, because it's not the 1.6 that it used to be for the pension obligation bonds, it's just a different number.
Right, it's
And it's not the
1.1.
2 million we started this year or last year. So
Right.
it's just a number.
But
Right, it's 1.1.
in 28, how is it 9 million?
Because we added in we just added, there's a capital table that says, hey, we're going to spend this much money, and they just transferred in that much more.
Oh, okay.
For the purchase of a building.
Right. Well, And
For the cost
fire
of the
engines,
building
all kinds of
offset.
things, all the other capital we have,
Right.
yeah.
I think what needs to happen,
EC trucks and
I-
whatever, all that stuff's in.
I think this transfer out to the capital fund needs to be broken out. I mean, it can't,
More
it
specifically.
can't be opaque, right? We can't have a single number
That's what I'm
there.
trying to say, yes. And I think that my theory on that is it's not an all bad concept. If we're using that as two things, one is to make sure we have enough as a balance to pay for our things we're buying. But for the financing,
Mhm.
so I'm not taking that away from you. And then the depreciation is the bucket you throw it into to say, hey, you know, we're putting aside this money for the future.
Right.
But at the moment, we're taking a random, in addition to the depreciation, we're taking a random $1.1 million every year out that we could leave in the general fund. Because we don't actually have a use for it right now. And it's not even, it's above and beyond the depreciation. Except that we aren't depreciating the new assets we have.
Right. So for example, the new building would be $1 million a year, assuming it's 20-year life, a $20 million building over.
Yeah, except they have a lot more than a 20-year life. Most of ours are like 40 some
Well,
years. Okay, but
Whatever we decide
Yeah.
life is.
yes, yes. I think some of ours are like 48 years old.
20 years for IRS
Right,
depreciation.
yes. Okay. I guess other than fixing that, which I think will potentially fix our problem or come close to fixing the problem of the not having, you know, it'll eliminate the red box, I think, if I had to guess. Which would be good. Then we wouldn't have to.
I did have one other question, just on the ambulance fee. I think last month we talked about we were going to have to write some off.
Oh, yeah.
And so does the
Like,
ambulance?
not just some, we had to write off like a third of it or something.
Well,
Some
that was
huge
my
number.
question is, does this number account for the write-off or the history of write-offs? Or does it take the unwritten off number and multiply it times 1.5% to grow?
So this number accounts for the write-offs that we
Actual-
and
so this is
project
actual
this year.
collection. This is actual collection. the
Yes,
amount.
it
Okay.
is.
I just want to make sure we weren't counting what we're writing off.
And historic, so we every so often we mark all this stuff to market. And we have a consultant come in and tell us how much everybody else is charging for this stuff. And it seems to me that goes up a lot more than, and I'm not questioning the 1.5% that's in there. I'm just questioning whether we want to change that philosophy. But because I don't think that our ambulance revenues really only go up 1.5% a year. I mean, inflation goes up a lot more than that. Our salaries go up more than that. Everything goes up more than that. So that seems like an incredibly conservative, if we're supposed to be marking things to market, what market are we going to market to that's only going to go up 1.5% a year? Unless we start writing more off, which we need to have last time we asked a question about why there were so many more write-offs all of a sudden. Did we have an answer to that?
Right, yes. So Chief and I met with Whitman Enterprises, which is our third-party ambulance billing company. And so they're going to come to the next board meeting and provide more information on the ambulance revenue and the service charges. So we're getting some more answers on that and doing more work around that.
Okay.
Sir, one of the things we found in a meeting with Whitman was that several laws have changed. The state legislator put some things out that limit how much we can bill regardless of what our cost is, and then how much we can go back to the owner. And, you know, their insurance is going to pay a very small portion. There's certain circumstances where we can't go back and say, hey, you need to make up the difference. So it was pretty complicated as Whitman was trying to explain that to us. And that's why we're going to have them come next month to answer those questions that the board had from last month.
So is that going to change our near-term forecast of what the revenues really are? Because
So we have received the revenues through February of 2026. And so that's what I've used to project the fiscal year 2026 revenue in there. So that's the latest information that we have.
So the 1.4 million is like an extrapolated number based off February.
Based through February, correct. Which does include that big chunk of write-offs that we experienced earlier this fiscal year.
But there haven't been any more write-offs since then.
Not anything significant, no.
so this says that, so what was what did we do that was so amazing last year that got us an extra $600,000 worth of revenue?
Right. So that's part of what happened is that not enough things were written off last year. And so then it happened. Then it occurred in August of 2025. We had a big amount written off.
So the
Okay.
1.9 million is accrual, not cash.
Correct.
So we now feel that the 1.4 number, or now going to be 1.5, is kind of the right level going forward as a base.
Yes, I do.
And do we think that the restrictions that we have are going to influence the amount that we can raise prices over time, or is it just going to change how we deal with individual people? In other words, if we can still get the same percentage of whatever it was, but all the prices went up, or are we literally going to be in a fixed fee business, meaning the same revenue forever? Because that's what the assumption at the moment would say. I can't believe that the state government would put a cap on your actual dollar amounts, even though, for services going forward, because nobody wants to be in that business. We shouldn't want to be in that business.
Well, and Medicare puts a cap on what you can collect.
Yeah, but Medicare goes up every year.
Yeah, but I don't know how much. I mean, maybe they'll answer that question.
Yes, sir. These are the things we're trying to figure out
Okay.
as to what percentage that Medicare is going to go up and what we can charge per, we did the fee study last year that says you need to be charging this. We're not getting close to what our fees are, and that's been limited by some recent legislation.
And does it affect only people that, so if somebody has great insurance and their insurance company pays 100% of it, does the state have any issue with that? Or do we just get to charge them? Is it only people that are on? I don't even know.
Those were the nuances we were trying to understand, and we need Whitman here to explain that. Different insurances get treated differently, and how much we can go back and recuperate from them. And there's laws that, well, if this insurance, or we're writing off for our residents, but non-residents, we're going to raise our rates to meet that. The law prohibits that as well.
Do we charge people for the things we use up when we put out a fire? Do we charge them for all the fire extinguishers that we use up and things like that?
No, we do not, sir.
Can we?
That's a great question. I do not have an answer for. Well, I'll have to work on that.
I assume we use up resources.
We charge that in ambulance fees. I mean, I've seen
Yeah,
the
ambulance fee, but
Yeah.
I'm asking about our
for
fires.
the fire engine.
Well, or if you go extract somebody and you have to use up, an air tanker, or, do we charge people for the
No, sir.
equipment?
Could we? I would have to do some research on that one.
It'd be interesting to see if people's auto insurance would cover that. Because if you get a bill from the fire department that says, hey, it cost me this much to put out your car fire.
Take a look at that.
Something to think about. Because we do a lot of, what about if our truck gets hit by a car? I don't know. Okay. Otherwise, I didn't.
I have another one.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So we have 3 lines for salaries. I assume the single role is in the line 18 non-safety.
Correct.
I was just wondering about, I've been curious about this for a long time, is the actual cost of our single role program. I wonder about the possibility we can do it here or we can do it in the budget, but I'd like to see the numbers just for the single role program.
Yes, sir. My plan was to do that in the budget.
We'll get that in the budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's on my note that it's been asked for.
Okay.
So
Okay. We're good on
I
that.
got you, sir.
Okay. And one other question is salaries, other non-benefited. I assume one of them is right there in the front row. Non-benefited, is that the only person that we're talking about right now?
No, there's also our plan check consultant is in that as well.
The contractor?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, thank you.
And then how did we take it? I guess tonight we're going to vote on some things that are going to impact this about the fund and how much of the fund goes, how much cash gets put into it and everything. Because at the moment we have the money coming out of the 727,000. I guess part of it goes into the general fund and part of it goes into the new fund, assuming we approve the new fund again. Is that right?
So are you talking about that new, the fuel break
526,
maintenance fund?
Yes, exactly.
Wait, right. So at the last board meeting, the board took action and transferred the money from the other grant fund, the Tunnel East Bay Hills Fuel Break Fund. And then 200,000 of it went to the general fund so that fund would be balanced basically.
Yep.
And then the rest of it, which was 500 something thousand, went into the new fuel break maintenance fund.
Right. Perfect. That's in here someplace.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
27 is on line 54.
Right.
But
I saw that one. I just wondered where the new fund was.
Okay, so I did not add the new fund to the long range forecast because we haven't gotten that far with what the plan is or had any discussion. So that needs to be a future agenda item to adopt. The board needs to adopt a budget for that fund, and there needs to be a plan for how that money is going to be spent.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Good. Marcia, I guess we can move on then.
Invite comments and questions from the public.
Yep.
And we have one hand raised. Can state your name, please.
Good evening, directors. Jacob Arola with IF Local 1230. I had two questions, if time permits. The first one is related back to the Cesara pension costs. And I see they're going up, as Gordon stated, like 99, nearly 100%. And it seems like an all-time high contribution rate for the district. It seems intuitive to me that this would be the time that we would not want to contribute into the pension stabilization fund when these rates are as high as they are, and maybe even consider borrowing from the stabilization fund to help offset some of those costs. So that's my first question is that a consideration? Because what I saw is that it looks like you're going to pay the highest rates ever in history and contribute to a pension stabilization fund designed to offset costs when it gets to this nature, especially when they're going to drop to nearly 50% in subsequent years. That's my first question.
So I don't know if they're unprecedented. I think they doubled it. Glorianne mentioned that it's been, 10 years they've been reasonably stable, which I'm not sure is completely true, but back in the 2008, 9, 10 timeframe, they changed dramatically because the rates of return on the portfolio changed. And the Cesara rates, again, are very, the last couple of years, the market's been really good. The market isn't always really good. And that's the reason we're doing the long-term math, not the day-to-day math on what's happening with the pension rate stabilization trust. And, so they do actually more than just 10 years, I believe. They look out even as far as they can. I think it's more like a 17-year model, at least it was. And so that's the reason we keep funding it, because there can be the changes next year. While the number might be high, it isn't going to be changing that much. It's when it comes in some year and doubles that we really have a problem. But in general, we still have a huge negative balance on our pension, not on the trust, but on the Cesara is underwater on funding their pension. And that's the reason we have a trust, so that we make sure the pension is more funded than Cesara seems to be able to keep it.
Okay, so it's not necessarily designed to the rate. So that explanation is sufficient. Thank you. The second one was this is more a board policy question, but would the board consider having the reserve policy include restricted funds to that point that if, you know, they became 200% or something outrageous, the trusts are still going to be used for their specific purpose, but thereby freeing up other parts of the general fund. And so it seems like those should be counted towards the total reserve, restricted and unrestricted. So I guess that's my question is, would the board consider having the policy include the restricted funds as well? Thank you.
I don't think any of us can really
Okay.
answer that, but I would just also say that we have two different fiduciaries in that situation. You know, one's the pension folks and the other is the general district overall, which is different. So that they really have two different objectives.
Yeah, maybe we can discuss it. I'll note that. Maybe we can discuss it as part of the budget.
We do not have any more hands raised or in-person public comment.
Okay. Can we move on then? Everybody okay? So-
Item,
Go ahead, please.
Item 9.2, waive the reading and introduce ordinance 2603, revising the schedule of fees for district services.
Good evening, Director. Back in January of 25, the board decided to direct staff to change our annual fee schedule and make adjustments based on the salary increases rather than the consumer price index. So staff has done that this year with the fee schedule. Staff also reviewed the fee schedule and we have a couple new fees in there. There's the 850 form fee, and it was previously in there, it just wasn't called out as that. And we had folks that were asking questions. We've received a lot of questions from our residents about, you know, what am I paying this fee for? How do I know where it is? So we're trying to clean that up. It was previously, we would just charge for the staff time, the hour of the inspector to go out there. So now we have an actual line for the 850 form. And then we have the landscape plan review and inspection. And that is based on the WUI code and changes that have come in through the state law that we need to identify what that is when we review those landscaping plans. We also did the lot split addition. It fell under the site water access because when we do lot splits, that's what we're looking for. But again, we had, based on new legislation, an increase in lot split applications. And as residents were going through the fee schedule, they didn't see, well, I don't see a lot split. And we would have to tell them, hey, this is the site water access because that's what we're reviewing your plans for. So this is just to help the residents understand better what their fee is. Concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions from the board?
I have one. I seem to recall, and I'm not seeing it right now, that last fiscal year, didn't we add a fee for food trucks? Did we add something for food trucks?
It's ringing a bell, but I don't
Hmm?
know what it was.
Or was it?
We added something in the fire code for the.
Oh, was that the fire code?
That was
So-
a recent
Yeah.
discussion, I thought.
So there's no fee associated with inspecting?
It's in the commercial. They're considered a commercial
That's
kitchen.
right.
They are a commercial
Oh,
kitchen.
so it's just
so
included
it
in there.
would
It's
be
not broken out. Okay,
correct, sir.
good. All right, thanks.
Any other questions?
And for me.
Okay, we can open public comment. We do not have any hands raised or in-person public comment.
Okay. I'll make a motion to waive the reading and introduce ordinance 26-03, revising the schedule of fees for district services and superseding ordinance number 25-01.
I'll second that.
Director Hassler,
Aye.
Director Romer,
Aye.
Vice President Danziger,
Aye.
President Jorgens.
Aye. Motion passes.
Item 9.3, waive the reading and introduce ordinance 2605, amending the purchasing and contracting procedures and authorities to authorize use of design build and progressive design build processes.
Good evening, directors. The need for this change came out of our ad hoc committee's meeting to discuss the future Fire Station 41 and giving the board the ability to choose different options that are out there that may be more cost effective and lessen the time for the new station. So staff reviewed with council and we added 2 additional options that the board may have. It does not limit the board to choosing any one of these. It just gives the board more options.
Could somebody just explain to me? I read it, but I still don't understand. I'll just tell you right now. Could you I want to see just explain design build versus progressive design build.
Sure. First of all, I think Jim Ross may be on. So Jim, maybe you want to take that question? There he is.
Hi, good evening, board members. So design build, you do both the design and the construction contract as one item. And usually, what happens is they work together to go through the entire project. With progressive design build, you start off earlier and you may not have as good of an idea of what your design is going to look like, but you build off ramps so that if you get to a point in the process where either you decide it's too costly or it's just not what you need, you have off ramps. And the advantage with the progressive design build is you get a lot of contractor input early on in the construction process. It's fairly flexible. And as opposed to in some, like the traditional design bid build process is a little bit less adversarial, and you can start the construction usually earlier in the process. So there are variations of a very similar concept, but progressive lets you start off earlier and gives you off ramps.
And both of these would tend to streamline the process a little bit, kind of get you going, so we don't have to put contracts out for every individual piece. Is that?
Well, so usually in what's the traditional way of doing public works contracts is what you call the design bid build method. And in that process, what you do is you hire the architect. They create the specifications and bid documents. You then go out to bid, and you have contractors say, we'll do that design for X number of dollars. And under that process, you're obligated to go with the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. So there is, it's a little bit more regimented.
Okay.
And as the chief said, what we devise the ordinance to do is to give you options depending on the particular project. For example, if it's a relatively small project, progressive design build or design build may not be as cost effective as the traditional way. If you're doing a fire station or something like that, it may be the better process. There's various things you have to take into account in deciding which way to go. But what this does is it gives you all 3 options under your ordinance, whereas prior to this, you were limited to the design bid build method.
Okay.
I would say one other thing, just having talked with our architect, one of the concerns is being limited in design bid build to lowest bid. Well, that sounds great, right? But you could end up with a contractor who may not, they obviously meet the minimum qualifications, but may not necessarily have a great track record, et cetera, and you can't really consider a lot of those things. So apparently, I don't know this for a fact, but as we understand from our architect, there are relatively few contractors who typically build fire stations and have a good long track record, et cetera. And so we want to be able to assess not just the dollar value, but also the likelihood that they can deliver a good product. And so that's the advantage in general of having the opportunity to use either design build or progressive design build, is that does give us those opportunities. But as Jim said, to be clear, this is really only intended, and we decided to put this in front of the board early in this process because we wanted to make sure we had those options, but it doesn't necessarily mean we would choose one over another at this moment.
Okay. Understood. Thank you for the explanation.
And we're hoping to be able to, at least for Station 41, build something that looks a lot like some other person's, Station 41, so that we don't have to recreate wheels. The more you can do of that, and the more you can buy ones that are pre-built someplace, because sections of them can be pre-built, the less new engineering there is, less new architecture. Somebody's already built it. They know what the issues were with the design in the first place, and they fixed all those. So it makes it a lot easier. And so I think, for me anyway, this is a great flexibility that we will have that will enhance our ability to get the best and fastest delivered product, both.
One other thing I'd add on that is that speed matters for a variety of reasons. One is, of course, we want the station, but it also matters because every year these costs go up a lot. And so the faster we build it, the less expensive it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to add one bit of information. If you might be wondering, why are we now bringing this to the board and we didn't do this maybe 15 years ago? What's happened is the legislature has slowly expanded the number of entities to which these alternative methods are available.
Okay.
That's good, because we got burned a couple of times building 43. So,
All right.
any more discussion? No. Any outside comment?
Okay, public comment is open. And we do not have any hands raised, and we've not received any written public comment or in-person public comment.
So do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to waive the reading, introduce ordinance 2605, MOFD ordinance amending the purchasing and contracting procedures and authorities to authorize use of design build and progressive design build processes.
I'll second that.
Director Hassler?
Aye.
Director Romer?
Aye.
Vice President Danziger?
Aye.
President Jorgens?
Aye. The motion passes.
Item
Thank you very
9.
much.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Item 9.4, approval of salary schedule for the Moraga-Orinda Fire Chiefs Officers Association.
Good evening, directors. This item would have been, you may have noticed there was a consent item for the salary schedule for the rank and file firefighters. This one we concluded needed to be on the regular agenda because of a new law, a new amendment to a law. It's SB 707, which essentially has a lot of these Brown Act amendments, et cetera, but it also increased the number. It used to be that only executives, you had to have a verbal report on compensation, but it's now expanded the group that you have to have a verbal report on to department heads and other similar administrative employees. Not entirely clear whether that includes the bat chiefs or not, but we're taking a cautious view here because they're relatively high up in the organization. And so with that, the law requires that we read out what the changes are. In this case, it's very simple. There's one change, which is that they would get a 5% wage increase, which is, again, in the MOU. So you're mandated to approve it, but it's in front of you because the schedule, the wage schedule was not in the MOU. And so you need to, this is the wage schedule that reflects what the MOU already requires.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
Any
we can
public comment?
open up public comment. We do not have any hands raised or in-person public comment.
I'll make a motion to approve salary schedule for MOFD Chief Officers Association effective July 1, 2026.
Second.
Director Hassler,
Aye.
Director Romer,
Aye.
Vice President Danziger.
Aye.
President Jorgens.
Aye. The motion passes.
Item 9.5, approve resolution 2602, authorizing an information technology services agreement with Definitive Network, Inc.
Good evening, directors. Back at the February meeting, the board directed staff to go back to DNI and see if we could get a price reduction and what they were putting in their bid. I talked to DNI and they could have reduced the price insignificant, a couple $100, but the significance to me was in the level of service that we would be getting. There are certain things that we need, and we need to be able to pick up the phone and talk to DNI and say, hey, we need this. And that was one of the areas they said that we could, reduce the price, but you're going to lose that. So if you wanted to call us and say, I need this, and it's not in the contract, then we need an amendment to the contract. That would mean coming back to the board and time that we may not have. We also talked to the second provider there to see, we had some concerns about their ability to provide the level of service that we need. And they said they could. And when we asked for details about how would you do that, they just said we have ways to do that. I believe this provider will be a very good option for the district in the future. I just don't believe that right now they could provide the level of service that we have. So staff is bringing this item back to you with the recommendation to approve the 3-year contract with DNI.
Well, it doesn't hurt to ask, right?
No, sir, absolutely not. It was
That's
a
what my
good
mother
conversation.
always said.
Yeah.
Hey, so for DNI, do they charge, I mean, I know we have a not to exceed, do they charge hourly? How does their contract actually work?
No, they don't charge hourly. It's
It's a monthly,
monthly. Yes.
okay, and do we have there's certain, within that month, you can call them so many times and they can, I mean,
There's no limit to the amount of times we can call them.
No.
It's just, right, as long as the work that we're requesting that they do is in the scope of the
Yeah.
contract.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Okay, public comments open. We do not have any hands raised or in-person public comment.
Do I hear a motion? You're Mr. Motion tonight.
Okay, I'll make a motion, approve resolution 26-02 as stated in the item 9.5.
I'll second that.
Director Hassler,
Aye.
Director Romer,
Aye.
Vice President Danziger.
Aye.
President Jorgens.
Aye. The motion passes.
Item 9.6, authorize establishment of fuel break maintenance special revenue fund.
And directors, at the last board meeting, the board directed establishment of a new fund for the fuel break maintenance. So this is just to take formal action to authorize establishment of this fund.
Will we be setting specific parameters for the use of the funds in this fund or?
Well,
Because
so the fund will be used for fuel break maintenance.
Just maintenance. Okay.
Right. And if the board wants to put additional parameters, then this would be the time.
So I guess just so I understand, what's the difference between fuel break maintenance? Because, we have one that basically goes all the way around the community now, but we also do, our friend here does burning and clearing and things just generally. What's the difference? Or are they kind of one and the same?
I think they're one and the same, sir. If we're doing it in the footprint of the fuel break, is this the question becomes, is this a new project? So what I would ask is this fund established just to do the work in existing projects, or are we allowed to use some of these funds to start a new fuel break and maintain that fuel break? Is this just for the work on the ground, or can we buy some equipment out of the fund? We need new chains for the chainsaw to maintain the fuel break. We wanted to get a sense from the board if there was any parameters that were there that the board may be concerned about, that we would understand and be able to follow and make sure we're using the money as the board intended it to be used.
I guess I'd tend to leave that up to you, to the chief.
It seems like a discretion, but it seems like it should be used for,
It's got to be.
there's a bucket it should be used for, right? I mean.
Right. So the things you just discussed, so it's
Yeah.
burning piles and clearing brush, and hopefully a majority of that happens within the existing fuel break or starting a new one, I suppose. But, I think most of the burning we do is pretty much in the perimeter anyway. Maybe that's not quite true. Okay. Some of the burning is, but we have a budget for the other burning anyway, don't we? No? Go ahead.
Good evening, directors. It's an interesting question, and the chief and I have had several discussions about ways that we can use like equipment, rental equipment, or buying equipment to maintain the fuel break, to kind of a force multiplier. The best example of sort of the interior part of fuel breaks, Orinda Woods Association got a Measure X grant to create a shaded fuel break between Highway 24 and their structures at the top of Orinda Woods there. So I think that clarification of, can we use some of this money once the community builds a new shaded fuel break that the district recognizes, can we use some of this money to maintain that in future years? So those are the kind of nuances that I think we're looking for direction on.
That would make sense to me.
Yeah, to me, it seems like for fuel break, it's used to maintain fuel breaks that are
right
put in place.
Whether it's new ones or future ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And not just the ones that the grant came from. I mean, we create other ones.
Okay. Yeah. So what would be clarification, just more than the 34 miles of roughly fuel break that go around the district, and the North Orinda Shaded fuel break and the Tunnel East Bay Hills fuel break? Because I think there is significant work that we can do with fuel break maintenance and prescribed fire in and around the community to protect, those values at risk.
And last month I voted no for this because of this reason that we're talking about right now. I'm all for maintaining fuel breaks, but I think that we should have had this discussion with a detailed report before we allocated the money. That's just my opinion. So, I'm still from hearing this discussion right now, I'm still not sure, what the direction of the board's going to be, where the money can be spent. Well, I was thinking prior to hearing this just now that it was only going to be for the established fuel breaks and not for Orinda Woods. But, I'm here. I think that's what needs to be discussed here, and I guess we are. So,
well, I think we might need something put together of what this could be used for to provide comment on.
It's a good idea. So what,
I think that would be where
if you come back with a list of things that you would, and we can say yes or no about the list of things, is that going to be
yes,
on the next agenda?
We can absolutely.
And as well as, Dennis mentioned renting equipment or, buying equipment, chainsaws, whatever. I mean, I personally don't think that that's what this money should be used for, but we can talk about it if you present something.
Yeah.
Some kind of report saying how you would like to use this money. I think that would be a good idea.
Yes, sir, we can do that. And one of the big things that we would use would be, excuse me, Crew 12, to keep their hand crew staff through the winter to do that work for us. And that is a huge lift. And as Dennis said, a force multiplier for us to use their staff. And it's a small crew. It's 5 crew members with 6 crew members with the captain. And they get in there and they prep it for burning. Then they can come back later in the season and burn it, or we have our crews go out and burn it at that point.
So what's your, but for this, where is your money, which budget is your money in?
So my budget is very small, and it really just maintains the equipment that we already own, and then replaces at some point some of the hose and equipment that gets broken when we're out using it, and for one reason or another, it has to go out of service. So the 2026 budget was like less than $10,000 for prescribed fire. So with the next report, we'll talk more about the Crew 12 and the advantages that they've made. We can actually go out. We are actually going out now and doing more fuel break maintenance rather than letting it revert back to where it was in 2019.
So are you saying that putting this money aside, if this money wasn't here, like all the burns you've done, like in Canyon, that you wouldn't be able to do any of those? Without getting additional grants or?
Yeah. And really the way that we staff our burns now is borrowing an engine taking an engine from the district and then augmenting that with volunteer engines from either the Regional Park District or Contra Costa County Fire, or, we've had Berkeley Fire out, and a number of other agencies want to come out for the experience and prescribe burning, but it's pretty hard to talk them into going out and cutting poison oak and putting it in piles for burning.
Okay.
So just as a thought, because it sounds like you might actually have the Crew 12 people that you want to start sooner rather than later, and it's the right time of year. So, So is it possible that maybe we put are you going to have them work currently on the exact fuel breaks or someplace else? So I think the name of it is the fuel breaking.
Yeah.
So how about if we let them do the fuel breaks, the old fuel breaks for now, and you can bring back something later on that says we can tweak that if we need to.
I would really like that, sir. We're using Crew 12 and that funding right now is coming out of Fire Chief contingency because it is the perfect time of year to get that work done. And Crew 12 is available to us right now. They're going to, in the next couple months, start spinning up for their fire season training. And that makes them, less available to us to do fuel break funded work.
What's the cost of that? Like, what are you taking out of the contingency approximately?
So right now it's about $12,000 a week. And we have tentatively planned for them to use them for 7 weeks, just doing fuel break maintenance, which is cutting, piling, pile burning, and removing ladder fuels.
So like 80 grand?
Be about 90.
90. Okay.
I know you're going to give a report after this item on the update, but as part of this, I was thinking that not Bear Creek Road, the other side, what road that was closed? What is that one called?
Wildcat Canyon.
Wildcat Canyon is now open.
Yep.
I assume nothing was done along that part that was closed for years.
Correct.
Is that something that we are concerned about?
Yes.
I mean, the growth that's occurred there?
Yeah, especially the portion from El Toinel down to San Pablo Dam Road, Camino Pablo.
Okay. Is that an area, and that's within within the fuel break area, right?
Yes.
So would that be an area that would be
We're hoping to get a crew in there next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
One way or another? Okay. All right.
So
I would agree. I would agree that we should spend the money on the fuel breaks that exist right now while we have the people to do it versus delay till there's no time.
So I guess I would propose that we, at the moment, limit it to working where there were fuel breaks before. And we'll get a presentation next week about modifying that, expanding it, contracting it, whatever we feel like doing. But for right now,
it's limited to that group.
It's limited to where we used to have fuel, where we have already established fuel breaks. Is that workable?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
good. So we need to hear I guess a motion or something about.
First, we're going to open public comment.
Sorry.
And we do not have any hands raised or in-person public comment. Would like a motion?
I'll take a stab at it. So I motion that we authorize the establishment of a fuel breaks maintenance special revenue fund solely for the purpose of maintaining the fuel breaks. I don't know what you want to say, the fuel breaks that were put in place over the last 6 to 7 years, but only for that purpose, with staff to come back with further recommendations of other places those funds could be used.
This is Director Romer. I will second.
Do you want me to, do we want to clarify it?
Yeah, I wanted a clarification.
Give me some clarification. Yeah.
He's already seconded. Can we go back?
Yeah, we can go back.
I just want to make clear it's the, it was the
shaded fuel break.
The
shaded fuel breaks and
two fuel breaks. So-
two fuel breaks. Yeah, maybe let me start that over. Authorize and establish a fuel break maintenance special revenue fund for the.
Can you give us the
East
names?
Bay.
North Orinda.
North
Orinda.
Shaded fuel break and the tunnel East.
There you
Hill
go.
Shaded fuel break.
There you go. Now,
Solely for that purpose until we receive further direction from the chief.
good.
This is Director Romer. I will second that motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So now we've had a first and a second.
Director Hassler?
Aye.
Director Romer?
Aye.
Vice President Danziger?
Aye.
President Jorgens?
Aye. Motion passes.
Up next, we have the prescribed fire update.
Imagine that. Good evening, directors. Prescribed Fire Program is expanding fuel break maintenance following direction from the fire chief. A 6-person crew from Contra Costa County Fire, Crew 12, began work on the North Orinda shaded fuel break in the Tappan Lane, Bear Ridge area on March 9th. The initial work has focused on cutting and piling regrown brush and clearing vegetation from Fire Trail 43-2 in preparation for more prescribed burning. To date, they've made more than 200 piles in that area. We'll go through the slides after, but this is the district staff has also been assisting our partners at the East Bay Municipal Utility District Rangers in reducing the heavy fuel at San Pablo Reservoir. The district used Terra Torch, which we've had for a few years, to ignite some log decks, which were monitored by the district rangers during 3 days of prescribed burning there. That project reduced about 150 tons of accumulated material that was dead and decadent Monterey pine that were decked up by a logging contract. East Bay Mud is also supporting biological surveys for proposed fuel break maintenance along Camino Pablo and Wildcat Canyon roads that we hope to undertake. One of the surveys will be this Friday. That'll be good for 7 days. And then they're paying to have a biologist come in and do surveys on other portions as we continue work there. In addition, the East Bay Regional Park District is continuing their pile burning operations in the eucalyptus groves that are within our district in the Tilden Nature area. While not apparent or not immediately visible to district residents here in Orinda, the accumulated fuel up there presents quite a hazard or could present quite a hazard to communities to the west at El Cerrito and Kensington. I am currently working at the fire chief asked me to work with PG&E. We're trying to get 15 to 20 person Fremont-based California Conservation Corps crew to assist with fuel break maintenance. They are sponsored by a grant from the Pacific Gas and Electric Corporation. They would be free to the district, and we will put them in specific areas, hopefully adjacent to the transmission lines that are within our fuel break parts. So that would be
we support it.
Yeah.
free is good, huh? So we're planning additional prescribed fire fuel break maintenance projects at Flicker Ridge in the community of Canyon, at Mulholland Ridge in Moraga, Bollinger Canyon, property that's owned by the John Muir Land Trust. We talked with Moraga Commons about doing a small prescribed fire project there, and the Eucalyptus Grove along Nimitz Way in Tilden Regional Park, just to mention a few. The slides up here, this is that 43-2 fire trail. This area was entered by Cal Fire Conservation Camp crew in like 2016, and most of the brush has grown back. Next slide, Marcia. So that's before. This is after Crew 12 went in there with their crew, and rather than remove all the brush because the area could be considered Alameda whipsnake habitat, we kind of mosaic through there to leave some shade structures in case there are snakes there, that there's still some habitat left. So that area's got a little bit of special treatment. Next slide, Marcia. This again is that fire trail 43-2. We used weed whips to go down the fire trail. Kind of the light green vegetation that's below the area that's been touched is hemlock, and it'll grow to about 5 or 6 feet tall. So when we come back this fall to burn that, we want to have it down low so that we can carry fire from the trail back down the hill to the bottom of the canyon without having to worry about it spotting over. There are several homes above that fire trail at the top of the ridge that we want to be sensitive to protecting. On the other part of the slide, that is of last Friday. Each green dot represents a 6 by 6 by 6 foot pile of brush that's been cut, hand piled, and condensed. As of this morning, the rest of that kind of arc that comes around to Bear Creek Road has been filled with more green dots. So roughly there's about 200 piles in there.
That's great.
So it speaks to the volume of work that needs to be done to maintain those fuel breaks. Next slide. And then this is the East Bay Mud log deck burning operation. Again, we ignited the pile for them, that deck in the middle. They have an excavator that loaded that for 3 days, and 150 tons of material were consumed by that. We had the Air Quality Management District come out and inspect the site, and we're very supportive of more burning in the East Bay to reduce fire hazard. East Bay Mud is also working on bringing more logs out of the back country and getting them closer to where we can burn more logs next winter when the conditions are right. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
It's great. Good work.
Thank you very
All
much.
that stuff that you burn up front can't burn when there's a big fire. So let's.
Thank you.
We'll open up public comment. We do not have any hands raised or in-person public comment. Committee reports on the audit committee.
Nothing to report other than we have an audit committee meeting scheduled for May before the May board meeting.
Facilities projects administration office.
We did the administration one. We have not met since then.
Station 41.
We did have a meeting about that. I think you were gone. And I think I've already talked about what the results were,
Okay.
with the architect. So
Station 45.
one thing we're going to do is we're going to go look at on 41, we're going to go look at other fire stations that might be just sort of drop-inable to put where 41 is now. See
Okay.
if there's something we like. So
Okay. The grant program to promote district activities.
We have not met since our original meeting a couple of months ago.
Okay. And then we have the fire prevention with the city of Orinda, the 2x2.
got canceled. Has it even been rescheduled yet?
Scheduled for April.
Is it? Okay.
What'd you say?
Scheduled for April, sir. I think April 16th.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check.
And then the fire prevention with the town of Moraga, 2x2.
We held a meeting last night with the city of, or sorry, the town of Moraga. It was a good meeting. We had 2 hours of discussion, exchanged information. We had about 10 people in attendance from the town. So it was and lots of good discussion. And so that meeting was held, and we are going to, our next meeting is set for June 16th.
And Director Jex was there? last
Director
night?
Jex was there as well. Yeah, we were both there.
Okay, and so we will open public comment for the committee reports. We do not have any hands raised or in-person public comment. And do we have any requests for items for future agenda items?
Any that we haven't already talked about?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay, hearing none.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Oh. Aha.
Director Hassler,
Aye.
Director Romer,
Aye.
Vice President Danziger.
Aye,
President Jorgens.
Aye.
And the time is 9:03.
Meeting is adjourned.
aye.
Thank you, everyone.
9 o'clock. That's
Thanks.
pretty good. That's